will show you how to implement circuit breaker with Spring Boot application with the functional style. Okay, so we have our one service, that is service B, which will be our target service, and we have another service, that is main, from where we will call service B. So this is our main service, and from here we will call service B. So circuit breaker, you know the concept, so you can learn about the concept online, like how the open and closed loop circuits work. And so here we will only see like how the whole how you can implement it in your day-to-day applications with Spring Boot. Okay, so we have created the main application. First of all, we'll see how to create a main application. Okay, so here this is a very simple application, and right now I'm just closing this. So with application properties, we have support at 1992, and you have to declare these endpoints. The management health enabled true. Web exposure includes star and always. Okay, this is important to show the details of the circuit breaker. Okay, to show the circuit breaker in matrix, so you have to include that one. The build.gradle will have your circuit breaker Resilience4j. Okay, this is important. You need this. We are using Spring Cloud Starter Boot. And nothing else is required with Spring Boot dependency. Okay. With respect to application properties, we have already set 90 to 92 because we will be hosting application B on 9191. So let's start with the main. The main application is the same class, like whenever we generate the new application. So we created a main controller. Okay, with main controller we are providing an endpoint where we have a service written, and with service we are calling the get album list. So we will go to the command album list. Now get album list returns so the whole logic is inside this. So let's say any method of a service is calling a third-party API or any other API like this, which one is sitting on 8080. So in this case you can implement circuit breakers in order to make your application resilient. Okay, so what we are doing is we have a REST template, created a REST template here. Okay, and here we have created a circuit breaker factory. From circuit breaker factory we are creating a circuit breaker instance. We have to auto wire this factory, but we have built this factory in other class that we have done in the configuration class. Okay, so you have to auto wire this circuit breaker factory. And how we built the circuit breaker factory, that we will see in the configuration class. In configuration class, as you can see, you will have to create a bean, and there you have to provide a global custom configuration. Here you can, so this is a boilerplate code for this, like how you will set it. So from config, do the custom, then add the threshold, like failure rate threshold, wait duration in open state, how much you want your request to be, how much will be the wait duration in your in open state. Okay, then sliding window size we are adding. So many parameters you can add here based on your requirement. You have to create the circuit breaker config. From config you have to use the lambda to provide or to feed in your config to the circuit breaker config, and from here you have to definitely build the configure default, because this will be a global factory. It will work for all the circuit breaker instances you have in your application. So that way the circuit breaker config you are creating will be applicable for all of the circuit breakers. You can also do the specific ones which we have which I'm providing the code for. This is in the GitHub, so you can check this out, like how you will be able to provide the circuit breaker for a particular instances, okay, circuit breaker instance, and that we can see in different video. Also you can create a configuration for multiple circuit breaker instances, so that you can check it out. It's the same procedure. You can also add time limiter config here. So you can also add a time limiter config for this factory and use it in your service. So now let's come to service class, album service, where we are basically creating that instance which we were talking, like default global instance. So we are specifying the circuit breaker and we are using the run method of circuit breaker here. The circuit breaker we have created, we are using run method. Now one more thing I want to point out is the circuit breaker that we are using is coming from Spring Cloud circuit breaker with the dependency we have added in. Okay, so that you have to make sure that it is coming from there. Then from run template we have to feed in a supplier, something like this. So this is your supplier. Okay, so the rest call is your supplier here from this place to till class. So this is where your call will go, like whenever you're calling that target service. And the throwable actually is a fallback method where we will come if in case we are getting any exception in get for entity rest in a call. If we are trying to hit up service B, and if we get a 500 exception, we will go to the fallback method, and the fallback will return fallback will return us the our sample model, which is user, and the username is a fallback. In order to understand whether the fallback is working, we will return the fallback. So let's go to this is the simple implementation of the this is your model, simple implementation of main class. Then we will also look at another service, which is service B, which we will be calling which we generally call it as a target service for our circuit breaker. So you need two services for circuit breaker to work, right? So the controller service we are written like service B and service B user. So we get like service B user, which is our sample, very standard, very minimal controller that I have written. Not many things. You don't want actually, it's not much needed from this side because circuit breaker is implemented in main service. So we don't have to, this will be, even if it is running, it's fine. We have to only use it while testing. So we have build Gradle, nothing exciting here, and application.yml, we are having it on port 80. Let's start this. So once you start it, we will test this service whether we are getting the service B user. So we have the endpoints here, 8080 service B and get service B user. So let's send this. So we are getting the user ID 1 and service B user. Okay, this is sample. So service B is working. Now when I want to hit it from main, so that we are going to the service B, service B. Okay, so let's start the main service. This is our main controller, this is our main application. We are starting our main application on 9292. The code is given in GitHub, so you can check it out, and the link is given below. So no issues about that. Okay, this one is started on 1992 with no context. Let's go to the postman. So our endpoint basically is main, and it returns the user, okay, the response entity. So let's hit this one. So we are getting service B user, because this is coming from service B. We are hitting service B and we're getting the user. Now let's say the service B is down, then what we will get. Okay, so let's go to service B and stop this service. Once we stop this service, we will hit our main service again. Let's see what is happening with main service. So now we got like user ID 3 and the username is fallback. So where we are getting this? We are getting this from the main service that we have defined in the get album list. We are defining a throwable, right? So because there is exception 500 from no service available as for service B, we got an exception, and to handle it we are getting like get all available products. So get all available products is printing a fallback, it's giving us a fallback user, and the user ID is 3. So just to make sure that it's different. This way you can simply, you have to make use of circuit breaker, and you can do many things, like you can take from the main docs of the circuit breaker. There are many code snippets which you can use, like you can go for time limiter, rate limiter, and then you can go for retries, all that thing you can do. So only one thing to keep in mind is put your configuration, and then in the service you can put that in the service you have to provide the supplier. So this would be a supplier. So providing a supplier is something more like, let's say shift and select this, I cut this one, and then let's say I add a supplier here. Okay, supplier of T. So it's a user, right? So supplier is the user supplier, right? So let's get user, and this is my supplier. Let's say I'm giving the, okay, so now you have to give this here, the sub. Okay, so we are getting like user, return user. So I think supplier is user. So let's see, object, yeah, so basically this sometimes I have seen that this sometimes does not work, but if you want that this little snippet to work, it's better you provide in the same place. Okay, so this way you won't have to worry too much. Okay, this will work just fine. And put in here. Okay, so this way it runs fine. Yeah, so this works totally fine. Maybe some typos there, maybe while the supplier that it is expecting the run method, you need a supplier to run, so the fallback, and this is a response entity, right? So you have to match that return type. So the return type here is your response entity, and there it is user. So that way it gives, sometimes it's an error, but you have to see how you will cope up with that. This is perfectly fine, it just works, and thank you.